Welcome to our exploration of monopoly and market power in economics. Today we'll break down what a monopoly is, why it matters, and how it shapes the markets we interact with every day. Understanding monopoly is key to grasping how some companies can dominate entire industries, influence prices, and affect consumer choices. Let's start by defining the basics and setting the stage for a deeper dive into the world of market power. Monopoly occurs when a single firm is the sole provider of a product or service in a particular market. This means there are no close substitutes available, giving the firm significant control over pricing and output. Monopolies can arise naturally through government regulation or by acquiring competitors. The absence of competition allows monopolists to set prices higher than in competitive markets, which can impact consumers and the overall economy. Market power refers to a firm's ability to influence the price of a product or service by controlling supply, demand, or both. In competitive markets, individual firms have little to no market power because many sellers offer similar products. However, in a monopoly, the single firm wields significant market power, often leading to higher prices and reduced choices for consumers. This power can shape entire industries and affect economic welfare. Monopolies can form in several ways. Sometimes a company develops a unique technology or resource that no one else has, creating a natural monopoly. In other cases, government regulations or patents grant exclusive rights to a single producer. Mergers and acquisitions can also lead to monopolies by eliminating competitors. Each path to monopoly has different implications for consumers and the market as a whole. Natural monopoly arises when a single firm can supply the entire market at a lower cost than multiple competing firms. This often happens in industries with high fixed costs like utilities or railways. Because duplicating infrastructure would be inefficient, one company ends up serving the whole market. While this can lead to lower costs, it also means less competition and potential for higher prices. Sometimes, governments create monopolies by granting exclusive rights to a company or agency. This can happen through patents, copyrights, or licenses. The intention is often to encourage innovation or ensure public services are provided efficiently. However, government-created monopolies can also limit competition and lead to higher prices if not properly regulated. Monopoly can also form when a company acquires its competitors, gradually becoming the sole provider in the market. This process, known as horizontal integration, reduces competition and increases the firm's market power. Regulators often scrutinize such mergers to prevent the creation of monopolies that could harm consumers. Barriers to entry are obstacles that make it difficult for new firms to enter a market. In monopolistic markets, these barriers can be high, including large capital requirements, control of key resources, or legal restrictions. High barriers protect the monopoly's position and prevent competition, allowing the firm to maintain its market power. Unlike firms in competitive markets, a monopoly can set the price for its product rather than taking the market price as given. This pricing power allows monopolists to maximize profits, often at the expense of consumers who pay higher prices. The lack of competition means consumers have few alternatives, reinforcing the monopoly's control. Monopolies can negatively impact consumers by reducing choices and raising prices. With no competition, monopolists have little incentive to improve quality or innovate. Consumers may end up paying more for less, and the overall welfare of society can decline as a result. One of the key economic consequences of monopoly is deadweight loss. This occurs when the monopoly sets prices above the competitive level, leading to fewer transactions and lost economic value. Both consumers and society as a whole miss out on potential benefits that would exist in a more competitive market. In perfect competition, many firms sell identical products and no single firm can influence the market price. In contrast, a monopoly faces no competition and can set prices freely. This fundamental difference leads to higher prices and lower output in monopolistic markets compared to perfectly competitive ones. Monopoly faces the entire market demand curve, meaning it must lower its price to sell more units. This is different from firms in competitive markets, which can sell as much as they want at the market price. The downward-sloping demand curve gives the monopolist its unique pricing power. For a monopolist, marginal revenue is always less than the price of the product. This is because selling an additional unit requires lowering the price on all units sold. Understanding marginal revenue is crucial for monopolists when deciding how much to produce and at what price. Monopolist maximizes profit by producing the quantity where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. At this point, the firm chooses the highest price consumers are willing to pay for that quantity. This strategy often results in higher prices and lower output compared to competitive markets. Some monopolists engage in price discrimination, charging different prices to different consumers for the same product. This can increase profits by capturing more consumer surplus, but it can also raise fairness concerns. Examples include airline tickets and movie theaters where prices vary based on time, age, or demand. Real-world examples of monopolies include public utilities like water and electricity providers, which often operate as natural monopolies. In some cases, tech companies or pharmaceutical firms hold monopolies due to patents or unique technologies. These examples help illustrate how monopolies function in different industries. Monopolies can sometimes foster innovation by providing firms with the resources and incentives to invest in research and development. However, without competitive pressure, monopolists may also become complacent and less motivated to innovate. The relationship between monopoly and innovation is complex and varies by industry. Governments often regulate monopolies to protect consumers and promote fair competition. This can involve setting price caps, breaking up companies, or overseeing mergers. The goal is to balance the benefits of large-scale production with the need for competition and consumer protection. Antitrust laws are designed to prevent monopolies and promote competition. These laws prohibit practices like price fixing, collusion, and predatory pricing. By enforcing antitrust regulations, governments aim to ensure markets remain open and competitive, benefiting consumers and the economy. In some cases, governments may break up monopolies to restore competition. Famous examples include the breakup of Standard Oil and AT&T in the United States. These actions are taken when a single firm's dominance is deemed harmful to consumers and the market. Sometimes, essential services provided by monopolies are taken over by the government and run as public enterprises. This is common in sectors like water, electricity, and public transportation. Public ownership aims to ensure fair access and reasonable prices for all consumers. Monopolies can sometimes achieve productive efficiency by taking advantage of economies of scale. However, they often fall short of allocative efficiency as prices are set above marginal cost. This means resources may not be allocated in the most beneficial way for society. Consumer surplus is the difference between what consumers are willing to pay and what they actually pay. In a monopoly, consumer surplus is reduced because prices are higher and output is lower. This shift in surplus from consumers to the monopolist is a key concern in monopoly markets. Producer surplus represents the difference between what producers are paid and their cost of production. In a monopoly, producer surplus increases as the firm can charge higher prices and earn greater profits. This comes at the expense of consumer surplus and overall market efficiency. Economists use various tools to measure monopoly power, such as the Lerner Index, which compares price and marginal cost. High values indicate greater market power. These measurements help regulators assess the degree of monopoly and the need for intervention. Price elasticity of demand affects a monopolist's pricing decisions. If demand is inelastic, the monopolist can raise prices without losing many customers. If demand is elastic, higher prices may lead to significant drops in sales. Understanding elasticity helps monopolists maximize profits. Monopolies may use advertising to maintain their market power and deter entry by potential competitors. Advertising can also be used to create brand loyalty, making it harder for new firms to attract customers. This strategy reinforces the monopoly's dominant position. Monopolies often have the resources to invest heavily in research and development. This can lead to new products and technological advances. However, without competitive pressure, the incentive to innovate may diminish over time, potentially slowing progress. With little or no competition, monopolies may have less incentive to maintain high product quality. Consumers have limited choices, so the monopolist can focus more on profit than on customer satisfaction. This can lead to lower quality goods or services over time. Customer service may also suffer in monopoly markets. With no competitors to turn to, consumers have little leverage to demand better service. Monopolists may cut costs in areas like support and responsiveness, further reducing consumer welfare. Monopolies can reduce social welfare by creating deadweight loss and transferring surplus from consumers to producers. The overall effect is a less efficient allocation of resources, with society as a whole losing out compared to a competitive market. Some monopolies operate on a global scale, controlling markets across multiple countries. These multinational monopolies can have even greater market power and influence, raising additional challenges for regulators and policymakers. In the digital age, some technology companies have achieved monopoly-like status by dominating online platforms or services. These digital monopolies can control vast amounts of data and shape how people access information, shop, or communicate. Network effects occur when the value of a product or service increases as more people use it. This is common in digital markets, where a single platform can become dominant simply because everyone else is using it. Network effects can reinforce monopoly power and make it hard for new entrants to compete. Switching costs are the expenses or inconveniences consumers face when changing from one product or service to another. High switching costs can lock consumers into a monopoly, making it difficult for competitors to attract new customers. Monopolists may take actions to deter entry by potential competitors, such as lowering prices temporarily, increasing advertising, or investing in excess capacity. These strategies make it less attractive or more difficult for new firms to enter the market. Legal barriers, such as patents, copyrights, and licenses, can create or reinforce monopolies. These protections are intended to reward innovation but can also limit competition and extend monopoly power beyond what is socially optimal. To prevent monopolies from charging excessively high prices, governments may impose price regulations. These controls aim to protect consumers while allowing the monopoly to cover its costs and earn a reasonable return. In addition to price controls, governments may regulate the quantity of goods or services a monopoly can produce. Output regulation helps ensure that essential services are available to all consumers and that resources are allocated efficiently. The public interest is a key consideration in regulating monopolies. Policymakers must balance the benefits of large-scale production with the need for competition, innovation, and consumer protection. The right approach depends on the specific market and industry involved. Globalization has changed the landscape for monopolies as firms can now operate and compete across borders. While this can increase competition, it can also allow large firms to dominate multiple markets, raising new regulatory challenges. Monopolies can both help and hinder economic growth. On one hand, they may invest in large-scale projects and innovation. On the other, they can stifle competition and slow progress. The overall impact depends on how the monopoly is managed and regulated. As technology and markets evolve, the nature of monopolies is also changing. Digital platforms, data control, and global reach are creating new forms of market power. Regulators and economists continue to debate the best ways to address these challenges and ensure fair competition. Summary: monopolies and market power play a significant role in shaping modern economies. While monopolies can bring benefits like economies of scale and innovation, they also pose risks to consumers and social welfare. Understanding how monopolies form, operate, and are regulated is crucial for anyone interested in economics or public policy. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the world of monopoly and market power.